Hi, I'm Luke Manson, and I've been interviewing students and teachers around the school. I've interviewed Housemaster Dr. Waite, Mr. War, Head of Department for English, Years 9, 11 and 13 students. I've been asking them what their thoughts are about the new phone ban at Christ College. Today, I'm going to be interviewing students and teachers around Christ College and asking them what their thoughts are on the new phone ban around school. Who am I here with?
Charlie.
What house are you in?
I'm in Julius.
In what year?
I am year 9.
Charlie, what are your thoughts on the phone ban?
At first I was pretty bummed. It's quite annoying having to go from class to class without having that. It can get pretty frustrating.
Do you think there are any fine-tuning that there should be done around it?
Maybe so that you can check your timetable or take photos of things if you need to.
Who am I here with?
This is Dr. Briar Waite, and I'm the housemaster of Rolleston House.
Dr. Waite, what are your thoughts on the phone ban?
So far, I've seen a positive change in Rolleston House. It was already a focus of ours to not be on our phones, and we'd rather have people interacting and spending time with each other. But now that the phones are away, I think that's ramped up even more, and people are playing outside, playing basketball, playing pool, and talking to each other instead of sitting individually on their phone.
What are some cons of the phone ban?
I think the challenge for many people is just the habit of pulling out their phone whenever they want to, and I think we're still in the phase where we have to break that habit. Often people are checking their timetables and they pull their phone out, or they've got a music lesson or tuition and they want to check the time, and they pull out their phone. So it's just shifting that to being more prepared and using your laptop and calendar perhaps to.
Dr. Waite seemed to have liked the phone ban because it means that students in her house are outside playing games and are being more social. Who am I here with?
Hi, I'm Luke Stevens. I'm in Julius in Year 13.
Lucas, what are your thoughts on the phone ban?
I think it's quite good to an extent. I think it's great for the Year 9s and for the younger ones to make sure they're interacting with each other. But for the Year 13s, I think it's just a bit too much, and sometimes we need to go on our phones every now and then, and we're mature enough to know the consequences of that.
Who am I here with?
Will Crawford, Year 11 student in Julius House.
Well, what are your thoughts on the phone ban?
I think it has positives and it has negatives. I think it's good when we are able to be on our phones, especially during rainy days and during long lunch times. But I think it's also a positive because since they've banned it, I've found that I've been able to socialise with my friends a lot more during breaks. I think we should be able to have access to them for being able to look at our timetables before classes so we know what we have, and in case our parents need to contact us, like if we need to get picked up early or if we feel sick or something, then they can come pick us up.
Right.
And
Who am I here with?
I'm Chris Waugh. I'm the head of Department for English at Christ College.
What are your thoughts on the phone ban around school?
I find it complicated. I totally understand why the phone ban exists because it's about removing that distraction from your academic lives, and I can totally appreciate the value in that. I'm conflicted though because I run these learning programs that almost depend on the use of devices like phones for things like recording and filming, and so half the time I find myself in breach of it with my own students because I'm asking them to use their phones as tools. The other thing that I find troubling is that we live in a world where phones are a norm. I'm constantly using my own phone as part of my work, and I think there's an important thing there about us coaching you to use phones in constructive and helpful ways and to become fluent in that. Whereas I also totally respect and understand the problem of social media and how distracting and problematic that can be for young people. So I can't give you a clear answer because I stand on both sides.
I've had a mixed feedback from students. Some students like the phone ban because the house is more social. Other students would prefer the phone ban to not be in place because it means things like checking the timetable and contacting your parents are a lot harder. Hi, my name is Charlie Baker. I was interested in the price of wool and the shearing costs and why they are the way they are. I interviewed Milton Hume, a wool buyer, Blair Foster, the boss of BSK Foster Shearing, and Alistair Studham, a sheep and cropping farmer from Canterbury. I wasn't able to get a voice recording from Blair and Alistair, so their responses are spoken by anonymous speakers. I asked them all 3 questions, being question 1, why is the cost of shearing so expensive? Question 2, why is the price of wool so low? And question 3, do you see the price of wool improving? And why or why not? Here it is. First is Blair and Alistair's response to question 1.
Because the cost of living has gone up and shearing is a physical job that takes a toll on the body, it also needs to be more appealing to younger people to get into the industry. We are competing against Australia and other countries around the world with prices to keep workers in the industry here in New Zealand.
It's risen significantly in the past 5 years. Shearing is a wage bill. It's gone up with increase in wages. It's supply and demand labour. It's hard and physical and a job young people aren't willing to do like they were years ago. So to entice people into the industry, wages need to significantly increase.
Because of what Blair and Alistair said, I was interested to find out what the shearing costs were in New Zealand compared to Australia. In New Zealand, sheep shearers get paid $2 to $3 per sheep. A shearer with 3 or more years of shearing experience can shear 200 to 400 sheep a day, meaning a shearer in New Zealand could earn his company up to $1,200, where in Aussie, shearers earn a minimum of $3.24 a sheep, and experienced shearers can shear up to 200 sheep a day, meaning in a day a shearer could earn his company $648. But keeping in mind, Australian sheep are generally harder to shear as they are skinnier and wrinklier. Next, we have Milton, Blair and Alistair's responses to question 2.
Why is the wool price so low for crossbred wool? This is simple. Synthetic nylon carpets. It's been the downfall of the New Zealand crossbred market, and why is because 90% of all carpets are made from an oil-based product. So that's probably the last 20 years. Probably another reason supply demand is always an interesting one, where recently the New Zealand wool supply has been outweighed demand. But we feel this has changed recently with the drop in sheep numbers. We're starting to see demand just starting to outweigh supply, which is going to be great. Another reason, probably global shipping and COVID. In the last, obviously, 5 to 10 years, has been a real strain on shipping and getting products to the overseas market. It's getting better, and hopefully it may continue.
I feel the government doesn't push for it as it is a natural, environmentally friendly product. It could be used for so much more.
It's supply and demand. The demand for wool worldwide is at an all-time low. It's failing to compete with synthetic materials, whether that's for carpet or clothing. It's a bit of a niche market with wealthier people, and they've cut back their spending with the cost of living crisis.
I was looking at a graph from Index Mundi on the fine wool monthly price per kgs. I learnt that the highest price for wool in the last 20 years was $26.49, and that was in September 2018. And the lowest
was $10.89 in September 2020. Since then, the price has stayed reasonably low. The last date it was recorded that I can find was in April of this year, and it was at $15.53. This just shows how much of an impact synthetic products have had on the wool industry. Now we have Milton, Blair and Alistair's responses to question 3.
Do I see the wool price improving or not? Look, definitely I see this is a yes. I can see the wool price improving for such reasons as words that come to mind are like sustainable, biodegradable, natural, fire retardant, recyclable, traceability, all things that the world consumer are really looking for at the moment. One thing we're finding at the moment is the system NZFAT, which is a farm traceability program, which is really starting to gather pace in the market. Manufacturers are starting to ask that we provide NZFAT farmers and starting to get a premium. Traditionally, New Zealand farmers have relied on the carpet industry as their main use for New Zealand wool, which it still does, but new developments are happening at the moment. This is in the way of deconstruction of wool, or of deconstruction of the fibre, I should say. So it's not using fibre as its traditional fibre, but breaking it down and using it more like a powder, into a powder base, keratin or pigment. It's saying with this is at the development stage of these products, products that can be used into personal health care. But probably the most exciting one I feel is it can be used as into the colouring industry, printing cartridges, paint, things like this, where it could be massive. So we watch the space. Other products that are developing, COVID was great for face masks, perfect. Wool was perfect for the filtration products, brilliant for that. Other products that have been developed lately are woolen tiles. Traditionally, we've always had the woolen carpets, but now woolen tiles is a product that's a 30 centimetre square product, commercially used for schools, banks, big buildings, government buildings, hard wearing, commercial use. So that's exciting. Another exciting is hemp wool blend. 50% hemp and wool, which products I've seen are outdoor clothing, socks, very soft. Traditionally, this has been a merino product, but the products that they are getting from this hemp wool blend is close to skin type clothing, so that's quite exciting. So yeah, definitely see a future for crossbred wool. It's going to take investment, education of the consumer, which is going to be a big one, and innovation. So,
in short term, no. But with the continued decrease in sheep numbers, the supply and demand may balance out and we might see wool prices start to improve. People are finding more end uses for wool, which may increase the demand.
I don't feel the price of wool will make a significant rise in price until the government helps promote it and push for people to use it instead of synthetic materials.
With Milton and Alistair both saying yes, I thought I would find out the sheep numbers over the years. In 1990, New Zealand had just under 60 million sheep, where in 2019, New Zealand only had 30 million sheep. This shows that maybe the supply and demand will balance out again, and we might see a rise in wool prices. Thanks for listening.
Hello, my name is Mick McCulkin.
and I was interested in whether or not parents thought that the price of Christ College boarding was worth the price. And today I will present my audio file. The people that I've interviewed have been my parents, Catherine McQuilkin and John McQuilkin, who I asked some questions on whether or not they thought the boarding house was a good environment and if it was worth the price. Think that the environment in the boarding house is good, and why?
Yes, I do think it is a really good environment in the boarding house, and I think that the boys have the ability to form really good friendships and connections with all the boys in the house, regardless of the year group that they operate. They have the opportunity to participate in lots of different house activities, which I think is great, and it enables them to, just to participate in things that they wouldn't normally participate in.
Okay. Now, if you think you could go back in time, would you still have sent me to Christ College?
I believe I would.
Okay. Is there anything you think could be improved in the boarding house or changed?
Well, I think there's always improvements that can be made, and I mean, I only hear from you what needs improvement, so I always take that with a grain of salt. I think the house building is beautiful. The schoolhouse building, is beautiful, but it potentially probably needs quite a lot of maintenance done to it. However, it does have, significant character, which I love.
Okay. Thank you. As a parent with a child enrolled at the school, do you think Christ College boarding is worth the price, and why?
I think it's a very good environment for young boys to grow up and have different influences on their lives regarding older, mentors, as in the teachers and the pupils, and having all their mates around them. I think you can gain a lot from that. And being in in that whole sort of embracing culture, I think is quite a good idea. As to whether it's value for money, things can always be done better. And I have a few reservations, but generally I keep paying the account every month, so clearly I'm not too unhappy. I think if you were living at home, you'd only be getting instruction and stuff from myself and from school, and I think you get a lot more influences at college, and you seem reasonably happy. So, yeah, I guess we're reasonably happy too. But as I said, things can always be done better.
Thanks. Do you feel like your son is getting much out of Christ College?
Well, I think you are. I mean, that's more a question for you. But I guess you haven't really involved yourself in too much extracurricular activity, but you're certainly changing as a person from the boy you were when you went there. Whether or not you would have at the same level had you gone to a public school in Queenstown, no one will ever know. But we're certainly happy with the boy you're becoming, so you could attribute some of that to being at school, certainly.
Okay. Thank you for your time. am Lucas John, a Year 10 music scholar at Christ College, Canterbury, and I welcome you to today's live stream on the similarities of professional sports people and musicians. Today, I will be interviewing a professional pianist, Michael Endres. The German/New Zealand pianist Michael Endres has been described by Richard Dyer of the Boston Globe as one of the most interesting pianists recording today, and by British Gramophone magazine, he is an outstanding Schubert interpreter. Michael has gained a master's degree at the Juilliard School in New York. He has also won many prizes, such as the Concours Gesa Under in Zurich and first prize in the International Schubert competition. The second person I'll be interviewing is a Year 11 student at Christ College, Canterbury, who is a competitive swimmer. Justin Wang has won numerous swimming awards in New Zealand, such as winning the Open 200-metre relay with his team at the Canterbury Secondary School swimming competitions.
What mental strategies do you use to prepare for a performance?
Well, that depends on the person, on each person. Everybody has different strategies to calm yourself down and put yourself in a state of in a state of being able to concentrate the most. That's it. So you need to be very fresh when you're head. You need to be rested. So it comes down to sensible eating, I guess. Of course, you don't drink on a day, but I have colleagues who do all kind of different things to get ready for that, for a concert. So I can only report my own thing, and that's a very strict routine. That means rehearsing always in the morning, then early lunch, long sleep in the afternoon, early going to the toilet, and avoid any kind of stress. That's probably the most important thing. Any kind of stress, even a late taxi or anything like this is fatal for me, because then I get tense. So everything needs to run smooth, and then I'm happy.
Box breaks and just sitting down and having a minute for yourself is important when before performing. This helps me calm myself down and ensures that I make less mistakes.
There is no retirement age for musicians technically, but is there a golden age?
Yeah, that depends how you define golden age. I mean, is it the peak of an artist? Then that's again individually different. So there are artists who have peaked at 18, and there's quite a number of those where when they were very young, I think they were at their best. Even if later they might think they're better, or the audience sometimes even thinks they're better. I happen to witness that some highly talented people were at their best when they were very young. Others get great when they're in the mid-30s, 40s, and then decline. And then, of course, you have the odd exception where somebody like Rubinstein who get better and better, and even in a very high age, achieve incredible level. For that, I think it's quite individual. You could argue that maturity comes in, and so as you get older, you play better because of that. That's a generally perceived wisdom. I would also question that, because music is not all about that, and if somebody is highly talented, I just refer to recent competition winners like Yun-Chan Lim, who played the Climber competition, one of the most remarkable talents in the last 20-30 years. And I think you can't play better than that. I mean, that's really unbelievable level at 18, and I don't think that is to be bettered. So the golden age for him, I think, is probably now, and others it's later. And you can have a couple of golden ages. You can peak in the 20s and then again in your 50s, whatever. So yes, there's a golden age, but it's highly variable.
I think the best time for a person swimming is when you have no time to train 6 times a week and go to swim meets every weekend. Otherwise, I would normally just train after my high school years and train to keep fit and just enjoy swimming rather than having it as a competitive sport.
How does public and media scrutiny for musicians impact your professional life?
Well, the public and media scrutiny can impact your life quite extremely these days, and so it's totally up to you how you play that game. And yeah, unfortunately, I guess one is nearly forced to play it because that's the way of communication these days. But there are quite a number of highly profiled musicians who totally refuse to play it. Piotr Andrzejewski, a very famous Polish pianist, doesn't do it. Marta Argerich never has done it. Maybe you could say they're already famous, so they don't need to, but no, they just don't do it. There's no such process in place, but it can be very intrusive, of course, if you follow everything that's written about you alone. That alone can be quite, I think it's an enormous waste of time, because it's really interesting what other people write about you. So, of course, it's flattering, then you like it, and then if you get a bad review, then you're really sore about it. So it's best to keep away from it, and yeah, to a minimum, keep it to a minimum.
What are the financial opportunities and challenges?
Going to national meets and meets around the country that is not in Christchurch costs a lot. They can be financially challenging as they cost a lot. Stop pushing me in. Travelling to different places in New Zealand can be financially challenging as they cost a lot. Each of these is important to grow your swimming skills and you have more opportunities going other places to swim, and you increase your experience as well.
Financial opportunities and challenges. I mean, if you're after the money, then study law, become a brain surgeon. I think that's a safer bet. Probably also more money. Challenges are because you're self-employed and you might fall out, of favor. A couple of years it goes well, then other people come who get preferred. It's an up and down. It's quite tough, as any freelance professional will tell you. And yeah, financial opportunities are there if you are smart, and these days you've got to diversify yourself, so teaching and maybe playing, then you can make a good living, but you should not seek that profession for its monetary opportunities. I think that's the completely wrong idea.
Does the lifestyle of a musician impact your personal life with performances overseas and tight rehearsal schedules?
That particular lifestyle impacts your personal life constantly, and that's basically, you can't get away from it. So starting with a concert day, that's a day completely reserved for that one event in the evening, from morning till evening. So it impacts your life on many fronts. You also have to travel long periods, and that might not be always easy with family and other commitments, but then you have to decide what comes first, and so it impacts every level your personal life, and you have to be pretty devoted to this whole profession to stand up for that. Sometimes that can be difficult. So it's not just a job; it's a lifestyle.
Swimming can impact your personal life and performance and life schedule by having no time to do other things. You need to time manage really well to fit everything you need to do in a day.
As heard in today's live stream on the similarities of professional sports people and musicians, there are many similarities between musicians and sports people, such as busy schedules and practice times. I hope you will join me for my next live stream, and I hope you have a good day.
much do you think art should cost? How valued is art in New Zealand? Hello, I'm Kat, and I have the pleasure of investigating whether art is valued in New Zealand. And if not, why not? I have split the investigation into 3 parts. What is the value of art? Is there cognitive biases surrounding art? And what role do AI and passion play in the wage of artists? So, is art valued in New Zealand?
Art is important to the longevity of history and culture within our civilization, but just how much do we value it? Darren George, an artist and head of the art department here at Christ College, says,
I think it is at different levels. I think if you look at top artists like, let's say, Bill Hammond, Colin McCann, Ralph Hoteri, you'll see that the prices for their works are extremely high. And I think at the top end, it's definitely valued. I think if it's got an investment value, the prices go through the roof. However, for most artists that are trying to make a living, it's a very tough way of making a living.
According to The Big Idea, a New Zealand hub for creativity, events and news, in their article, Low Down, Creatives' Income Research Paints Grim Picture, the study underlines the combined average median income for all creative professionals is $37,000, compared to New Zealand's average of $63,000 for wage earners in the country. It shows the difference in wage income for those in the creative industry. But this does not paint the full picture, because art is inherently subjective. Or is it? Mariana Custodio, an online contemporary art platform, argues in one of their blog posts that this problem is not as black and white as it seems, just like most of the art world. They say that art is subjective to a certain extent, and they outline that most popular art comes out of widespread recognition. The artist must have participated in tons of exhibitions, they stated. Without exhibitions, there is no recognition, and without recognition, there's virtually no interest in displaying works of artists. Mariana Custodio must also bring up that the unique thing about art is that we eventually develop our own subjective perspectives on art, which is beautiful, just that it isn't as black and white. Mr. George said that
under the old system, perhaps let's go back 200 years ago, everyone knew what art meant. You even go to tribes and you will see that the artworks had symbolic value and it endorsed perhaps the values of the culture or of the tribe. But with the advent of modernism and people going off in their own direction and doing their own thing, then yes, art became more subjective. I think I like being in this environment better because I don't, as an artist, have to conform to the tribe's idea of what I should do and what I should make. For an audience, though, that does make it more difficult because the audience doesn't necessarily know what the artist is trying to say. And so in that way, the audience has to work a little bit harder to try and generate their own ideas of what they think the artwork is saying to them. And so they're bringing their own experiences. They might find something that an artist has kind of almost made as a throwaway work. Because of some history that they've brought to an artwork, they might start weeping. And I think that's a good thing.
he thinks there should be an ability for people to bring their own experiences to the piece, creating a better piece because of the individual's subjective perspective. Cognitive bias in art is often unnoticeable. After conducting a small investigation of gathering opinions from my friends and other students at Christ College to get a relative picture of what people outside of the art world think about biases surrounding art, I have gathered the following results.
Yeah, I certainly think there are cognitive biases around art, probably more so towards abstract art, because, you know, that's what most people refer to when they think art that could be drawn by a child, and not so much other forms, but yeah, definitely contemporary art forms. There are definitely a lot of cognitive biases. Whether or not they're warranted, I don't think I'm qualified enough to say that.
Yeah, definitely. I guess when it comes to like art, it's more valued if it's done by someone who's known. If it's not done by someone known, I guess people would have more of a negative bias towards it. Like, oh, that doesn't look good. But if it's like someone like Picasso, they'll be like, oh, that's really good.
Yeah, like I think there's a few Karens sitting around saying like my children can't do art, and I think I've got an opinion.
Yeah, I have a few times. I'm not an artist myself, but I've heard a lot of negative biases around artists and their work, around most people thinking that it's not as hard as it looks and that it's not profitable enough to sustain your life and such.
Yes, I definitely heard that, especially around contemporary art that's being put in a lot of museums as of late.
I've definitely heard of most of these before, and I think I might agree with some of them. Statistically, if you look at artists' salaries, they're usually quite low, so I think this has an element of truth in it.
In terms of biases, Mr. George thinks that there are some cultural biases behind those childlike drawings and something of intellectual value that the viewer should be looking for. New Zealand has a small market. Although it has improved, only a few New Zealand artists have made it to the top and have earned the money available. And those at the bottom or a new artist may need help. Although Mr. George makes it clear that art galleries recently have improved.
I think New Zealand's a small country, it's got a small market, and so to get to the top, there's only a few people that the market will actually endorse. However, saying that, the market to make work and to sell work within galleries and things like that has definitely improved in the last 40, 50 years. We can see there's art dealers up and down this country that are willing to back 20, 30 artists at a time, and they're making a living off it. Artists are making a living off it. And again, the cultural value that it's adding to our country and informing an identity, I think is definitely fantastic.
AI has become prevalent within all communities on the internet recently. Mr. George says that
I've tried generating works from AI, and at this stage, it doesn't have the same feel that I have with making my work. There's a hollowness to it. So for me, I think the warmth comes from the human touch. You can definitely tell a difference. There's a sort of a cliche nature that comes through when you see certain AI works being generated. Now, I don't know what that'll do in the future as the technology gets better and better, but at this stage, I prefer the human touch. I think there's a warmth to it.
And the fact that it was made by a person gives the piece of work value. Some artists care about money, but with everything in the art world, it is not as black and white.
I think some artists, they make conceptual work, and so they haven't necessarily got a product, but their ideas are the key thing that they wanted to challenge people with. So I don't think it all fits, you can't fit everyone into the same mould. Then there's other artists that are definitely about making money. They've developed products that people want, and then they go down that track and they generate products that are very appealing to live with in your home.
Whether this is a mild issue to fix in the future or an important problem to be fixed within the decade, we remain to see. This is Cam Hill. Thank you for listening.